How are special needs expenses for your children handled in divorce? So if you have a child with special needs and you're incurring expenses for their medical treatments or special professionals that they need to use to help them, whatever that might be, these are basically treated as Section 7 extraordinary expenses. What are those expenses? Those are basically expenses that are above and beyond your day-to-day daily living expenses. Things like, medical and dental not covered by insurance, competitive sport, childcare, post-secondary education. These are all examples of Section 7 extraordinary expenses, including when you have a special needs child who incurs these additional expenses. You want to make sure that you have incorporated those expenses in your separation agreement. The more you can identify upfront in that agreement, the less room there is for misunderstandings, fight, misinterpretation, etc., in terms of who is obligated to pay what. So for the expenses that you regularly incur for that special needs child, make sure that you have a detailed description of what those expenses are in your separation agreement. And if you can project or forecast or foresee additional expenses related to the special needs that maybe you aren't incurring yet, but you know they're coming in the future, also incorporate those expenses in your agreement. Again, the point here is you want to include as much detail as possible in your separation agreement in order to avoid disagreements and fights and misinterpretations and misunderstandings later on down the road. The more time and energy you invest in coming up with a complete agreement, the better off you will be. So in terms of those special needs, you might also be talking not just about the dollars, but you might actually even be talking about just the time that it requires, because a special needs child may have way more appointments than a child that doesn't have special needs. Maybe it's doctor appointments, special appointments, that you have to take time off of work in order to get your child to those appointments. Are you addressing those in your parenting plan? Are you addressing them in your separation agreement? When you have special needs to deal with, it can take a lot of time, and it might be that one person can't do all of it because it's taking away so much time from their job, and you're trying to balance everything in life. And so if you can address even the time constraints and the things that need to be done and who's going to do what, where the responsibilities lie, you will help reduce some of that frustration and aggravation later on if it's all already addressed in your separation agreement. So the key is the more time and effort you invest in getting everything into that agreement as much as possible. And of course, you can't predict everything in life. There are things you will not be able to put in the agreement because you're not aware of them. But the more you can put in there in anticipation, knowing that certain things might come your way, the better off you're going to be, the easier it will be to handle, the more everybody is going to understand what their rights and their obligations are, and what the expectations are for who's handling what, who's paying for what, how you are sharing those expenses, how they're getting paid. Is it a direct debit into your bank account? Is it a check? Is it an e-transfer? How is all that going to work? Get those details documented in your separation agreement. Food for thought. Have a great day.